right. Check, check, check. All right. I think we're good to go. Just doing one more check. Okay, cool. We are. I am your host today for this for Beyond 27, and yeah, we'll go ahead and kind of get everything started. Over the past few months, protests changes that need to happen. It's also essential that businesses respond and demonstrate their commitment as well. Um, Especially locally, there's been a lot of things going on with just different businesses as a whole. So it's going to be interesting just having this conversation. I'm super excited about the group of people that we have today. So today we're going to be continue those conversations with one of my good friends. Thanks to Canopy for giving me this cool shirt. Since we talk about this, good business is anti-racist. Um, so yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that, and I agree. Good business is anti-racist. Sadly, our well wishes and our love to him and his family. Um, for those of you here in the Zoom audience, thank you again for pre-registering. Feel free to drop any questions that you have in the Q&A, and we'll do our best to try to get to them. For folks watching the live, with a Louisville-based singer-songwriter, my boy, a great, great brother of mine, somebody I really consider a brother near and dear. And it's my boy, songwriter, creative, Scott T. Smith. He was raised in the hills of Appalachia, stepped into the folk and country music lane. He blends his love of soul and sold out Odeon. So I'm super, super excited for y'all to check them out. So yeah, we can go ahead and get my boy Scott T. Smith on and kind of get.
Can you guys hear me? How are you all? Well, today I come to you from far off, but my Kentucky home has been on my mind for a long time. And this is a song that I wrote not too far from it called Wanted Man. I can hear the sound of that train rolling like thunder in the sky. Oh, it takes my mind on a journey to simpler place and time. I can hear those hooves a-cracking like lightning on the pine. And I wish I could take a break. I can feel the miles in the bottom of my spine. But I'm a wanted man. Well, I still remember the day, though everything began to change. Oh, I made myself a stranger. Her name was Fate. She said my yoke is easy and my burdens are light. Oh, we can lead a simple life. But I'm a wanted man. Yeah, I'll do what I can to push further down the line. Hope I make it out this time. Well, the wind grew cold and the frost turned white. My black rimmed hat. And I could hide my love for you, my dear, but I could not hide my tracks. Well, my luck ran out back in Tennessee. Oh, the marshal caught up with me. 'Cause I'm a wanted man. And I'll do what I can to push further down the line. Hope I make it out this time. Oh, 'cause she's my reason why. Oh.
My boy. Can you hear me, Scott?
I sure can. I can now. I'm having a hard time. I was wondering if it was my end or your end. But could you hear my performance well?
I could. It sounded amazing, as always,
Great.
man.
Great.
Sounded great.
I can hear you now, loud and clear.
Great. Where are you at right now? You in Denver? Where are you?
I'm just south of Denver in Castle Pines.
Cool.
Spending some time with family. Oh man, you're broken up again.
Oh, you hear me now? Oh. And report with this, but first, before we get into that, we want to take a moment to recognize our sponsors, PNC Bank. So we're going to have a nice message from Andrea Kinser.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Andrea Kinser. I'm a commercial banking relationship manager at PNC, but also have the pleasure of being the diversity and inclusion supplier chair for our region, and I'm thrilled to be here today. At PNC, we are committed to promoting diversity, inclusion, and mutual respect, both internally and externally in our community. We find ourselves in one of the most important civil rights movements of our time, and at PNC, we believe that each one of us plays a role at combating racism and discrimination. So just like the 26 Kentucky businesses that joined Canopy's 27 campaign to take a public stance on racial justice, PNC stands committed to do our part. At a corporate level, our CEO announced in June that PNC will dedicate more than $1 billion to help end systemic racism. This new funding will support the economic empowerment of African American and low and moderate income communities. But then also here locally, we are thrilled to have the opportunity to collaborate with organizations like Canopy, who also share this mission. Together, we believe we can address where we've been, take a strong look at where we are today, and then thoughtfully determine where we need to go together. So to Canopy, thank you for the opportunity to be a part of Beyond 27.
Great. Thank you, Andrea. So next up, we're going to
Hi, James. And hi, everyone. Sorry, you were cutting out a little bit earlier, James, but I'm Alex Page. I'm the Canopy Certified Program Specialist. And you might have seen me on a couple of the Canopy cafes if you tune in on Facebook a lot. But today I'm going to talk a little bit about our 27 Challenge and Learning campaign and the impact report that we created from that. So as you guys know and have heard, the 27 campaign is a way for Kentucky businesses to acknowledge that systemic racism is a problem and that for-profit businesses need to address by creating a public statement, examining and updating internal policies and procedures, and supporting Black-owned businesses by donating to Canopy's Sustainable 27 Fund. So out of all this, we wanted to create an impact report dedicated to, the impact that both the 27 Fund and the 27 Days of Learning have had. So at Canopy, we're big believers in impact reports because it's a great way to celebrate and publish the good that you've done for the community and stands as a nice gift at the end of a campaign that a lot of hard work has gone into. So to start, wonderful, we have the presentation. Maybe go back a couple of slides if you can, Vincelli. Wonderful. Awesome. Okay. So we're going to begin with the learning piece of our campaign. So this is where we had content creation for the 27 Days of Learning content. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. Canopy provided 27 days of learning via social media and blog posts alongside facilitating forums and bringing on guest speakers to Canopy cafes. This allowed us to touch on a wide range of topics, all in support of creating a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive workspace. So in our 27 days of posting content, we had 7 Canopy cafes on Facebook and YouTube with guests like Rashad Abdur-Rahman, Dion Stokes, Letty Johnson, and many more. We also had 8 different blog posts that served as extensions or elaborations on our social posts. So these explored topics like creating statements, employee activism, Juneteenth, and even environmental justice. So with this, you can go ahead and click to the next slide. We reached 38,000 people. So 1 learning guide, 249 posts across platforms, 983 Canopy Cafe views. Altogether, we've reached 38,000 people, which is a tremendous win for us. We never knew the reach of this campaign. We went into it just wanting to have an impact in this space and to respond what was going on in our community. But it's awesome to see that so many people got to view our content. So now I'll move on to all of the companies that were involved on the other leg of it. So this is the 27 Fund and Challenge. So we had 26 committed companies, which included 580 employees from all of these companies. So what was this challenge, you ask, or what did these companies commit to? If you want to go to the next slide, I'll tell you a little bit more about the challenge. So first, they had to create a public statement in response to racial justice. And this was a necessary step because the sooner companies get the word out about their values regarding a social issue, the better. Second, they had to review and create new policies around diversity, equity, and inclusion in order to better support their Black employees. And then third, they had to donate to the 27 Fund in support of Black-owned businesses. So it was a pretty big deal that we had this many companies and employees willing to jump on this campaign and do this racial justice work in their workplace. There are also some companies that went above and beyond with fulfilling their goals. So at Canopy, we have 3 ways that we like to measure impact. And we even have these ways of measuring impact in our Canopy certified program. But we wanted to transfer that model over to this and use it in our impact report. So the first is through programming. And this is like creating programs to accomplish a goal. So some examples of companies that created programs for the 27 campaign, or actually these are programs that happened all year long in support of racial justice. So first, Louisville Salt Cave had a free health summit, which is a really cool thing that they did, as well as Field Trip created a Black Lives Matter poster design challenge. Print My Threads had a t-shirt campaign for the Ashland for Change March. And then 1020 Brewery's Community Hour used social media to support Black artists. So these are all examples of programs that these companies who were a part of the 27 campaign also did alongside that. So some metrics with this include like $2,500 was spent on programs, and 1,054 were donated through in-kind services. Another way that Canopy likes to measure impact is through philanthropic gifts. So the gifts that we wanted to highlight were that there were more than $550 made in donations to the Black Lives Matter movement, as well as the bail funds for Louisville, which is just awesome that we got to be able to collect that data and hear about that and include that in this report. The third way that Canopy likes to measure impact is through volunteering. So with this campaign, we had companies like Bluestone Productions, the Oliver Group, and Print My Threads participate in volunteer initiatives with Dare to Care, local protests, GLI, and working on voting rights. So finally, an exemplary way actually for companies to create impact is through nonprofit and for-profit partnerships. So with this campaign, we had a lot of great partnerships that formed, including places like Ashland for Change, Ashland NAACP, Dare to Care, Louisville Urban League, Organic Health Investments, Racial Healing Project, and the Simmons College. So these are just all the different ways we wanted to measure impact and gather data about how companies were fulfilling their racial justice goals. So now I'm going to talk about a few testimonials that some of our companies had. So the first one is with Print My Threads, who is one of our friends over in Ashland, Kentucky. And they actually said that as a small business owner without an HR department, it can be super difficult when trying to navigate issues such as race, diversity, and equity in the workplace. So while these topics are super important to building out a safe, just, and inclusive culture at Print My Threads, we really lacked any kind of roadmap for how to do that. So Canopy's 27 Days of Learning has provided us that roadmap and given us a clear how-to guide for those actions that we need to take, the issues we need to address, and the conversations we need to have. So I would assume that Kyle, who is a good friend of Canopy's, probably wrote that, which is really cool to hear that Print My Threads had that testimonial. Another one is from All Trade Property Management, which is actually here out of Louisville, I believe. I know they operate in Louisville. And their testimonial, they were also part of the 27 campaign and the 27 fund. They said that one of the most valuable things about the 27 campaign for our company is that it has provided us a wealth of resources and some actionable steps for how we can take our existing community-oriented mentality and revive it in new ways to be more intentional about how we actively engage in conversations about racial justice and equity. And this is both internally with their staff and also externally with their community partnerships and stakeholder relationships. And then finally, the Louisville Salt Cave was another 27 company, and their testimonial was that being a part of Canopy's 27 campaign allowed us to recognize where we can offer more. So the opportunities for leadership education and internal DE&I statements are our first priority, and then moving toward employee activism and community involvement. So our values are rooted in community and prevention, and we recognize it is impossible to heal wholly on an individual basis. We're grateful for Canopy's leadership for continued growth in the area of racial equity and good business. So those are all great testimonials from the from the companies that were participating in the 27 fund, and those are also included in our impact report. But finally, for the fun part, or I don't know if it's the fun part, but it's the most exciting, it's the actual dollar amount attached to our 27 funds. So we had $26,000 in company commitments, and then $22,000 in matching commitments, as well as over $800 in individual donations. So that's all rounding out to around $48,885. And we really couldn't have done this without all the companies that joined in and decided to be a part of this campaign. And so I really just want to say thank you to everyone who was involved. And hopefully through this process, and hopefully through the impact report, which I think we plan on sending it out to anyone who wants to read it, but especially the companies that were involved, that you'll see how great your impact is. And it really just shows that, like, even the smallest steps that you take, or those initiatives you decide to take on, like, those don't fall away or go to the wayside whenever your focus has to go back to focusing on your operations. They're still so important, and they make a huge impact, and just really thankful for all of the companies that were involved with this. So now I think I'm actually going to turn it over to the founder and CEO of Canopy, who is also my boss, Scott Collins. He's going to talk a little bit more about the 27 fund, and how it's turning into the Community Investment Collective Fund. So,
yeah, thanks, Alex.
Yeah, no problem.
It's been a long time since I've seen you. We saw each other this morning for a check presentation. But yeah, so the gang did an incredible job with the 27 campaign, both on the educational leg of it. Alex and El Shaddai created an incredible resource guide for folks that want to learn how to think about DE&I in their own businesses. And then, of course, on the other side, getting 26 companies to volunteer to commit to looking at their own policies and procedures, and making a public statement. And then, of course, being willing to make $1,000 donation to the fund. So, the exciting thing with the fund is this year I happen to be on the Bingham Fellows team, and we pitched the idea of creating a sustainable fund in Louisville for Black-owned businesses across the community. And fortunately, at this point, it's one of the 4 projects that got taken up in the Bingham Fellows class this year. And what we're doing is we're creating what we're calling a Community Investment Collective Fund. And it really has a couple of purposes. The driving purpose is to provide access to capital for Black-owned business owners, whereas there's been difficulty oftentimes for minority-owned, Black-owned businesses to gain access to capital to either start up a business or to help a business grow. So one of the intentions of the fund is to create an alternative path that breaks down barriers to allow Black businesses the opportunity to gain access to capital to help grow their businesses. And so that piece is the driving force behind it. But also what makes the work we're doing important too is the plan, the intention, and it's beyond an intention, it's what has to happen. The fund is going to utilize folks from the communities where the businesses are to make the ultimate decisions around how their money is distributed. So it's sort of breaking down traditional models of capital distribution. It's utilizing the folks in the neighborhoods, the folks that are around where these businesses are, to determine who gets the money. And ultimately, we feel like that's going to increase the likelihood of a business succeeding when people in the neighborhood and people in the communities where those businesses are have agency in selecting where the capital goes. Another big piece of the Community Investment Collective Fund is that on the back end, once financing, once capital is distributed to a business, it really just begins there, in that we're creating a strong network of professional supporters, be it law firms, our CPA firms, our marketing firms, our branding firms, our consultants to offer heavily discounted or completely free services for the businesses that end up receiving capital. So again, the idea is that it doesn't end with the capital distribution, it really begins. And the aim is to increase the likelihood of sustainable success for these businesses in their neighborhoods and in their communities. I like to think of it as, for me, as an investor who's interested and cares and wants to invest in different spaces in our communities, but doesn't know how and doesn't know where to begin, doesn't know how to do the vetting and how to make determinations. The Community Investment Collective is going to be a very useful tool for like-minded investors that are interested in impact investing in our community. So we're very excited about this, and Canopy's work is going to be the seed fund to begin. And our goal is to create a sustainable fund. We're not interested in creating something that's going to last 6 months and we're going to distribute some funds. We're interested in creating something that's going to last for 200 years. We're interested in something that's going to be sustainable in our community and grow with our community. So that's the exciting work that Canopy helped fuel, helped seed. And of course, we'll be involved with the process as it moves along. But we're really proud of our work, and I'm really proud of the team, and really honored for all the folks and businesses that came along to help our efforts today. Thanks to everyone who's participating. It's an important time, and businesses are a fundamental component, the driver, at least part of the driver, of the changes that we need to see in America. And it's exciting for me to see some of the discussions that are going on and the considerations. And I mean, honestly, part of it too is the talking through the hard things and, creating spaces where that can occur so that we can make progress together. So really proud of the team. Happy to be here. Thanks for watching today.
Nice. No, that sounds great, Scott. Thank you for sharing with us. It's definitely great to hear about something sustainable. And he's going to join us again, play another track.
This is a song I wrote about growing up in Hurricane, West Virginia, and just about how difficult it can be to bridge, the trials of love. And for me, growing up in West Virginia, that unfortunately more times than not was race. So this is called Pining After You, and I hope that this can apply to everyone in some way, shape, or form. Growing up in the mountains, in a town well delayed, you were my Catherine Hepburn, and I was your Sidney Poitier, holding hands on the street, good friends by our side. No, we didn't see it coming. The devil walked in with a smile. I'm pining after you. Whispers echoed through the holler. Fear was flowing through the street. Your daddy wouldn't let his daughter run off with a man like me. But I'm pining after you, that old-fashioned way, like my grandfather did after my mom came. I'm pining after you. Well, don't quite know what I'm living, whether it's a nightmare or a dream. Having something so precious to love, so close but so far from me. Wish I passed the smoke up tomorrow. Wish I could feel a love and answer all your questions, or tie those loose strings in your heart. But I'm pining after you in that old-fashioned way, like my grandfather did after my mom Jane. I'm pining after you. I'm pining after you in that old-fashioned way, like my grandfather did back before this whole world changed. I'm pining after you.
Man, my boy.
Well, you guys, I can't thank you enough while we're trying to connection out. I can't enough. Canopy, and just not just Canopy, this has become something much bigger than yourselves. Just this whole Beyond 27 platform, and I think that, like I said, it's not just what we need now, but it is also an honor to be a part of it. So thank you guys so much. I think James, our fearless leader, is going to lead to the next segment now.
He's always been had a really great impact on the city, and I'm super excited to see what he does in the future. So we wanted to just show him a little love and go ahead and play the Hood to Holler video. So like I said, we're sending peace and love and light to his family since he had a family emergency. Hope all is well.
We did what many thought was impossible. In the face of incredible pain, we showed everyone what Kentucky is made of.
This is not about me standing on this stage. This is about the people of Kentucky.
They see us now. We shock the world. But our work is far from done. People are still rationing insulin. Families are losing their homes. Brianna's door can still be kicked in. Racism is structural, and poverty is still generational. We still have leaders in Washington who don't care if we die. We know more is possible. We know change can't wait. We know what's possible when we come together. So let's get to it. Let's make sure everyone can be heard at the ballot box. Let's ensure automatic restoration of voting rights as the law. Let's build a new wave of leaders. Let's build coalitions across Kentucky and break down the divides that keep us broke and broken. We've been in our corners, separated from our collective power, while efforts like the Southern Strategy used racism and hate to divide us. Let's tell a new story now, a story where we stand together as people, uproot generations of inequity, and finally lead on ending poverty. That's why I'm launching my new organization, Hood to Hollow, a barrier-breaking, coalition-building, people-powered movement. We are redefining political leadership and power so that we, the people, can transform our future.
We'll never be divided.
Let's do the work. Let's lead the way. Join us.
A field trip from All Trade Property Management. And All Trade Property Management is a full service property management company here in town as well. And then we also have Anita Bullitt from Girl Scouts of Kentucky, Girl Scouts of Kentucky, Anna.
Hi, how are you?
Hello.
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 Can y'all hear me?
Now I can.
Okay, now, yeah.
Okay, great. How's everybody doing today?
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good, yeah. Happy to be here.
Busy. Put a couple questions and we'll just see how it goes from there. So the first question I have for y'all was, while racial justice is not anything new, this summer definitely we have saw like a spark in awareness. We can just start. We can either go down the line, or if anybody wants to chime in first.
Hey everybody, Binso Lee here, just kind of popping in. I know that we're having some internet lag troubles and wanted to help facilitate the conversation as it goes because I want to hear from James and everybody else. So as James was saying, I mean, there's been a lot. We've seen businesses right now, a huge kind of groundswell of public commitments and statements around anti-racism and racial justice. You know, why do you feel as a business owner or a nonprofit leader like it's important to take a stance and take action right now? Anita, you want to lead us off?
Sure. In the Girl Scouts history, we have a history of saying, be a sister to every Girl Scout. And so we thought it was critically important that our volunteers truly understood our position, our stance. On June 1st, our CEO made a public statement affirming our position against racial injustice. And we really challenged our volunteers and staff to tap into their inner girl, like to be like a go-getter, a innovator, a risk taker, a leader, to really take a stance and lead this movement. And so it was really important and an opportunity for us as well. So
I can jump in here too. I think for us at All Trade, we're a housing provider, and community has kind of always been at the core of our business model. And so when something is happening in your community, right in your back door, I think we just felt like we had to say something. I think as a housing provider, there are obviously a lot of intersections with racial injustices in housing, and we want to really be a part of the solution for that. So that's why we felt like it was really important in this moment for us to make our stance clear and continue to work on what we can do to better our community.
And on the field trip side, being an advertising agency, I love that we're all kind of different spectrums right now. It's really important that not only our internal organization represent what is going on in the world, but also the work that we put out. And I think that with Field Trip, it was an eye-opener to us that some of our processes have never really looked at those things. And it was time to create them. And that's what we've done. So something being so close to you in your backyard, it makes you think a lot harder about what you need to do and how you can be successful in the community and your own organization as well.
Absolutely. And I'm curious, Jordan, what impact have you seen right away? I mean, things are moving so quick right now, but you take these actions, not only making the public statements, but then starting to really look at some of your governance in your company and starting to think about how you're going to operationalize justice. Like, what impact has that had on your company so far? And do you see a trend?
Yeah, I mean, at Field Trip, candidly, we did not have a true thought out diversity statement. So myself and our team here have thought about that and created one that we feel still is true to ourselves. And we have not done a great job in the past of working with minority partners as far as freelancers. We have worked with some minority photographers and things of that sort. But when thinking about the community as a whole, how can we continue to do that? And gratefully, our CEO, Jane Pfeiffer, allowed us time to go protest, to go help out in the West End, to provide food, and things like that, where we can take time to step away from what we're doing on an everyday basis and think about the bigger picture.
Yeah. Anita, any immediate impact that you've seen, whether it's in, engaging with youth in a new and different way, or donors? How has this impacted you as you try to incorporate and operationalize justice?
I think she might be on mute. I think you might be on mute, Anita.
Let me try that again. I missed the first part of that. Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, if the question is, what impact has our statement had?
Yeah, the statement
Was that
and
the
the
question?
actions that you've taken so far, what impact has it had on your organization?
Oh, okay. So for our staff, the impact is that we are very intentional and we are very sincere about taking a stance on racial injustice. There's no wavering, there's no guessing about it. Like, we are proactively forward moving. It's a movement. It's a part of what we are and, how we're moving. And so that's awesome. They don't have to wonder. They can get on the train and we are on it, together. As far as our volunteers, funny enough, we were unsure if we were going to have some backlash from the membership, our volunteers, etc. We have very vocal volunteers. They're amazing volunteers. And we had no backlash, no questions. We were really kind of checking the temperature, of our membership. by putting out a statement and putting out resources and et cetera. And we just feel like we are we're all aligned correctly. They are on board and willing and happy to really to help us make sustainable long-term change. And so the impact has been extremely positive all across the board. As far as our programming, we've altered, we had a plan. We already have plans in motion, and then current events happen, right? And so we have quickly changed our programming to include some restorative justice pieces. We've got training for our volunteers that's being created. I mean, we have truly immersed ourselves. Our CEO is 100% dedicated to it, and our membership, and I'm just extremely proud. So it's very positive impact so far.
Wow. Yeah, just that community engagement, talent recruitment piece is so
Yes.
important to this. Kristen, how about you? What's your insight on this?
Yeah, sure. So one of the kind of big steps that we've taken so far is we wrote a DEI statement and have distributed that out to our entire employee base, which is close to 200 people. And we have launched a DEI task force, which I'm really looking forward to kind of having that come together. And I think one impact, at least for me, is I have seen the statements that have come in for people who are interested in being part of our task force. And there was one in particular, a staff person who just said, this is really exciting that to work at a company who is doing this. And I really appreciate this. And just in expressing her interest in the task force itself, also said that, this is something she's looked for in other companies that she's worked for. So I think that, for us, the impact is just that we can kind of continue to be a little bit more intentional about the conversations that we're having as a housing provider, but also as an employer. And I think that it's been great to see some of the responses to what we've done so far. And I'm hoping kind of some similar positive responses in the future once we can kind of think about how we can take it a little bit outside of just All Trades walls and into the community as well.
Yeah, but that's so important that you're having the conversation inside your walls, and not just having it be an external facing community conversation, not being performative about it, but
right.
Really talking about it. I mean, James, you stand at the crossroads of so many different communities here in Louisville. You are a performing artist, so you're on the stages. You're an entrepreneur yourself. You've got a couple different organizations that you've set up with the Louisville Race Club and some of your own companies. What's your insight on this as you think about? You put on your DE&I hat. How has infusing all of your business practices and your music with diversity informed your business?
It's interesting. I kind of feel like this is something this is my life's mission.
Oh, I hate that it stopped at "this is my life's mission."
I know.
This is my life's mission.
Right. Can y'all hear me now? Am I better?
Yes.
Better?
Right.
Okay.
About your life mission.
Sorry. No, but this is my life work. So I kind of feel like I've always have been
Dang it. I sometimes despise the internet. I sometimes
agreed.
Because as you all may or may not know, I mean, James is an incredible performing artist, but he's also works with companies to help them diversify and kind of frame their tone and their thinking around so that it's more inclusive of the Black community. And there you are.
All right, my good. Okay, sorry. So hopefully I don't lag again. But it's basically, this has been kind of my life's mission. I've always have been very.
No.
Man, it's like it's a coast and it just keeps washing over him. Well, hopefully we can get to hear about his life's work. I mean, what do you feel like are the lessons right now that you're learning? Obviously, this is kind of a tender question, but like, what are the lessons that you're learning as you're trying to operationalize racial justice within your companies? Who wants to take that?
I can say
Sure.
one thing, or Anita, you go ahead.
I was letting you go, but that's fine. I'll go. Lessons that I think we're learning is that we have to we are evaluating our practices, our policies, our hiring practices, our recruitment practices, that we really need to be, we have to carry that DEI lens with every aspect of Girl Scouts, and that we haven't been, but now we have to review a lot of the practices and et cetera, and that let's see, the lessons. I mean, it's a hard question. I may let you go a little bit, Kristen, and maybe I'll revisit that in just a second.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think one thing I have been thinking a lot about, and that I have talked with, the coworkers I've been working closely with on this, is that there's no like arrival point, and it's like just a continuous, it's continual work. And I think that that's like a big lesson and a big reminder, is that like there is always something to be done. And even if, you are doing things well in one area, like that doesn't mean you can kind of like sit back and be like, cool, we're good, And I think that is an intimidating aspect of it. But it also, I think, it is energizing and exciting too, where you, like, kind of like Anita was saying there, you can reevaluate every single policy and procedure that you have in place and probably look at it in a different lens. And so I think in terms of a kind of a lesson and a guiding point, it's just that there is no arrival point. It's continuous work. And also just kind of, being comfortable with being transparent and trying to hold yourself accountable, but also allow the folks around you to hold you accountable. Because I think that's how you kind of keep that train moving. So that's like one thing I feel like I've been really, really focusing on. I've talked a lot also with my coworkers about. It's like there's always something that can be next in this type of work.
Yeah, that seems so true.
If I don't mind adding one more thing, I think one lesson that I've learned is that there's a thirst for a safe space to talk about these topics, and we haven't really allowed that as much. And so, because there's a thirst, we've created like a staff committee, and the conversations are amazing. I mean, people have lots of questions. People are very transparent. They're vulnerable, and I think the lesson is we were maybe always ready to talk about it, but weren't really given the situation, like the perfect storm, and we have it now. And so it's amazing. So,
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Jordan, anything you want to add to that continual learning process?
Yeah, I love this question about the lessons, and I will agree that with what you, Anita, and Kristen have said about looking at everything through a DEI lens is something that we're definitely trying to do more of. And I think at Field Trip, we really pride ourselves on having diversity of the way people think and what people do in their off time and their activities, and bringing that to the table. And I think sometimes that can put rose-colored glasses on to the bigger issues. And I really like that part about transparency as well. And that's something that we're trying to bring more to the table, just being transparent about what we say and how we communicate it, and asking people freely, is that the correct way to say that? Correcting people if they do say something, and just making sure that we're always continuing those processes every day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is easy sometimes when you're doing good to like let that kind of wash over all of your things, and really kind of bringing it back to an honest, transparent place and saying like, we've got work to do in this area takes a lot of discipline and honesty with yourself. James, I'm hoping that the internet will cooperate so we can hear from you.
Yeah.
Right. We're hoping.
Yeah. So basically, what I was saying earlier was like, yes, my life's work. I think DEI is one of those things that's personal, and it starts with you. It starts with how intentional you are.
We got a little bit more that time.
We did.
Starts with how intentional you are, and that word intentional.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah, that's such an important
And then
word. Go ahead.
Exactly. I'm sorry. Sorry if I keep breaking in and out, but so then, like, if you are an intentional person in your day-to-day life, then how you would approach your work when you're at your workplace, it makes it that much easier to be very intentional. So I think that's the whole thing. I love what you all were saying about.
He loves something. We're missing it.
Yeah, I know. It's like Go ahead.
No, sorry. It's not one of those type of things like you all were saying that it's you can cut it off here and add DI in there. So it's something.
It's a journey. Yeah.
Yep. It's a journey.
It's a journey. Yeah. I mean, we do at Canopy as part of our certification program. We talk a lot about moving from intuitive to intentional. So intuitively, companies will do good. They'll help out in little ways that they can easily see or that they like to do, right? So maybe it's a barbershop that does haircuts to help pay for kids in the community's college funds. Maybe it's a company that sponsors a baseball team. Like they're good things that they do, but it's not part of their operations yet. So taking that intuitive good and moving it to an intentional space where you're measuring your good and growing it and having some specific outcomes that you're looking for is really what I think it's all about when it comes to it. I mean, knowing that there's not a goal line, there's not a finish line to that good. There's always more good that can be done. So I love that. That word intention. It's so important.
I got a question for you all.
Go for it. It's a meditative question.
Right. So from a standpoint of, putting out outward statements to the world about your company, how were you all? Did you all dig through or comb through your staff at all, and just like wonder about like did y'all have any issues with like lack of diversity or maybe with people's voices not being heard? Like, was that one of those type of things that you all had to do as businesses?
Yeah, I think for us, one of the main reasons that we are putting together this DEI task force is to just have like a better collection of a variety of voices. I think when you're, kind of like a mid-sized company, it's easy to kind of have a set of decision makers, and you just kind of got to make the decision and go. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what you were asking. There was just like a little bit of breaking up, but yeah, I mean, I definitely think that we saw areas where we can most certainly improve that within our staff, also definitely within our leadership. So that's something that we're focusing on.
Yeah, I will go ahead. Field trip is also kind of in that same spot. I'm currently the only person of color on staff. And I think with moving forward, like we've said, bringing in freelancers of color, minority backgrounds, and just as we look at staffing decisions, looking at, that being a big part of it as well. So it's definitely been some conversations about how to add that in, making sure that not all of that is on one person. That's why we can, connect it to a committee and making sure that, everyone's voice can still be heard.
Mm-hmm.
Here at Girl Scouts, we have thousands of members and we have under 70 staff. And so there is a opportunity for more diversity in our staff members, and we're taking a hard look at that, as well as our membership. And so again, I will agree with the ladies that we are doing a lot of internal looking to see what can we change, how can we tweak it, how how can our hiring practices and our recruitment of our volunteers mirror the population, and really looking at that data and making plans to really move forward with that. Absolutely. That's the first step. If you're not strong internally, you can't possibly do the work,
Right.
So we are absolutely committed to that. Yeah. I'm excited. This is exciting. This is a really exciting time. Absolutely.
For sure. Well, I mean, in a way of wrapping up, I mean, there is commitments, and then there's the actions and the putting policies into place, and then there's sustaining, right? That continual journey that we're talking about. And there's personal things that people do to sustain themselves, to care for be good for you so that you can be good for your company that you work with, and then be good for your community, right? So I wondered if you all might share for the audience, how you're approaching sustaining this work, both personally and for your companies.
We can go. I think it's really about, like we've talked about, continuing that conversation, making sure that it's not getting lost, making sure that this isn't just something that is in this block of time, that it's continuing, and that, just speaking to our CEO and the rest of the committee this morning about it, is making sure that we don't just make this diversity statement and then leave it, that we continue sharing it, that we continue living by it, and that we, really hold up to what we have signed up for and continue that mission.
Yeah.
For us, part of the DEI statement that we've published has sort of what I would call like a living version or a living portion of it at the end, where we've essentially said that, each quarter we're going to revisit here and kind of talk about what we're doing, like what our next step is. So like right now it's formulating the task force, and then we're, hoping that in the next quarter we'll have something else. And so I think, again, by kind of putting that out there and having it there as sort of an accountability tool, and to kind of help move that, keep the conversation going and keep the momentum going, that is one thing that we're trying to put in place to kind of keep it rolling.
Yeah.
I'll say personally, I'm committed to learning more. I've joined 2 book clubs, online book clubs. I've invited my coworkers, but just learning more information, I think, is really important for me. And so here at Girl Scouts, we have created a new role, a Chief People Officer. I mean, it's brand new, not even like hired yet, brand new, that is committed to DEI. And so that role will have like a large thumbprint across our staff and our volunteers. And so it's huge, and it's exciting to hold us accountable, to make us consistent, and be really innovative and creative in how we approach things, but to make it sustainable, like what you're saying. I think I've already talked about our staff team that has formed, and we've met once. And I mean, the conversation is so robust. I mean, we had an hour and we needed 2, for sure, just to touch into, the conversation. Let's see, I talked about our program development for girls. I mean, we are creating new things like right now, because new training for our volunteers, our HR practices. Let's see here. Oh, and one thing that's amazing is GSUSA is they are looking at our data and really trying to understand if our membership matches our population, as I said previously, and really giving us like a scorecard to be accountable and keep the conversation going, and really try to understand, like, if we don't match the population, why? What can we do? How can we do it? What's the time frame, et cetera? And so I feel confident that all of these things will make this effort sustainable and a part of the Girl Scout culture, ultimately.
Yeah.
James,
want to take us out with some insightful artistic statement about how you're sustaining?
Hopefully I don't break up. But yeah, I guess I can kind of go back to what I was trying to say before I broke up, which is like, yeah, it's life's work. This is something that you do outside of the workplace and in the workplace. This is something that can be ever changing. There's a lot of layers. It's like an onion. As soon as you peel back one layer, there's multiple layers to it, right? And I think it's just really about being very intentional with what you do, being very intentional with the statements that you put out, and really living by those things, and really having those tough conversations with people. I love awkward conversations. So the more
Then he broke up.
Perfect.
Sounds perfect, right?
I mean, if you love awkward conversations, we're killing it right now.
We are number one.
We are
number
really good at fan. Number one, all the way to the finish line.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for participating in this panel on operationalizing racial justice. Obviously, the conversation continues, and there's plenty of work to do. And I appreciate you all being out there and leading the way.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right,
Thank you for
take
having
care.
us.
Thank
All right. Bye. Thank you.
All right.
All right, James, I think it's time to wrap this event up. Are you there?
Am I
here?
I'm here half the time, at least I feel like. But yeah, no, we can go ahead and wrap it up. I appreciate you for reaching out to me, man. It was good. It was a good conversation.
Absolutely. Well, you're such a fantastic leader in the community for sharing your voice, obviously through your artwork, but also working, quietly with companies and organizations to help them think more holistically and inclusively. And I appreciate you for that. We're gonna wrap up with another song from Scott T. Smith. But before we do, I just want to thank everybody for joining us for Beyond 27, especially our guests, panelists, and our sponsor, PNC Bank. If you want to take action and about racial justice through good business practices, please consider heading over to canopyky.org and signing the Charter for Good Business. It's an online document that aligns the beliefs and values of businesses that are having a positive impact on people, planet, and our future. It's a pretty cool thing. It's a grassroots movement. We'd love to have your name on there. And while you're there, consider donating. This work that we're doing to help make Kentucky first in good business is intended to transform the lives of people here in this state. So thanks so much, especially to our host, James Lindsey. And we're going to let things roll out here with another song from our friend Scott T. Smith. Bye, y'all.
Oh, peace, sweet peace, come and find me. Oh, peace, sweet peace, come and find me. Come and settle in my bones. Make this weary heart your home. Oh, peace, sweet peace, come and find me. Oh, fear, dark fear, take a back seat. Oh, fear, dark fear, I said please take a back seat. Come along for the ride. Oh, but the way you cannot decide. I said, oh, dark fear, dark fear, take a back seat. And I believe that we all will. Because as long as there's air in my lungs, I will run. Oh, as long as there's air in my lungs, I will run. in my lungs, I will run towards the rising sun. Towards the rising sun. Oh, peace, sweet peace, come and find me. Oh, peace, sweet peace, come and find me. Come and settle in these bones. Make this weary heart your home. I said, oh, peace, sweet peace, come and find me. We're heading that way. The more we have these conversations and the more we gather, we will find peace. Thank you guys for letting me be a part of this today. Look forward to next time. Take care, Ben. Take care to all. Thank you, James, for leading us fearlessly through the lags and through every bit of it.